Defense lawyers are not suggesting that Danielle was told before she walked in the door that night that she was going to be the star of a video. But they do say that in this case, she was not in any danger, that ultimately she played along, and that the group had done this with other young women who never complained, including Christina Lum, one of the people charged in this case. Did the young woman in this video know what was going on?
Well, I think it's clear that she knows what's going on. If you watch the video and you watch different parts of it, simply by her reactions.
Lawyers Chris and Dan Ambrose represent Travis Peya and Jimmy Carwile. Now, do you think if she were really frightened, she'd be struggling more in that particular scene?
I mean, if she was struggling, she would have kicked him in the face, she would have pushed him away. It would have taken at least 2 people to tie her legs up. But they do it without any difficulty at all.
And look again at the scene in the back seat of the car.
Look at the knife, Chris. Look at the knife carefully. It's entirely covered in Scotch tape so that it doesn't injure her in any way at all.
Still sharp, though.
With the Scotch tape on it, there's no edge on that knife.
Well, it looks like it's right in front of her throat.
Right, correct. And it's supposed to look like that.
And it looks like if somebody hit the brakes or hit a pothole, that the knife could go in her throat.
That's correct. But that knife is actually behind her.
But does Scotch tape make a knife safe? Is it actually behind her? And the lawyers point out how careful they say the group was at the so-called gravesite. Shoveling snow in on top of her.
Not on top of her, Chris. All alongside of her or over her head, but not on top of her.
Towards the end of the grave scene, after Travis Peya pretends to slash Danielle's throat, Danielle slumps over.
Yeah, he never tells her to play dead. And she says she has no idea what's going on.
So you're saying that she's playing dead there?
Correct.
Acting along?
Correct.
What about other scenes where Danielle seems truly frightened? Is she acting?
You guys are f***ing psycho.
She's crying.
Well, it's hard to tell if she's crying there or not. She does look upset there. I'll concede that. But again, they are making a movie. They're trying to make it as real as possible.
What she seems to be saying is, had I realized you guys were this way, I wouldn't have got involved in this thing. You're not allowed to hold people against their will.
But that's the question. Is it against her will, though? She never says that she doesn't want to participate. And there's many parts that aren't shown, unfortunately, where they explain to her that this is a movie and she doesn't have to go along with it. Because if those parts were on the video, there wouldn't be any story here.
We may never know for sure what was said off camera, but there's no shortage of disturbing language on the tape.
If you scream, you move, you make one f***ing sound or movement, you'll die right then.
I will cut out your vocal cords right there.
Cut up your vocal cords?
It's from a movie, Chris.
Which movie is that?
I do not know. I've asked my client to sit down and go through each and every verse and tell me which movie it's from.
The point, the lawyers say, everything you see on the videotape is fiction. Nobody intended to cause anyone any harm. Do they actually have a script, or was it just something they talked about beforehand?
It is a physical script.
Do you have it?
We do not have it in our possession, no. And that's going to be an issue at the time of trial.
Who's got it?
It's a good question, Chris. It was in that house. We don't know where it is now. And it was there the day that all these gentlemen were arrested.
They say if you watch the end of the tape, there's even a curtain call.
Yes.
So, we got Trev.
Oh, you started with me? You're not blushing. I appreciate that.
Killer number 1.
Thank you. I'll be here all weekend.
Christina's the driver. Jimmy.
He's going to take up the other,
Fat man.
the film.
The victim.
The victim?
I can't remember the name.
Danielle.
Danielle.
Anyway.
And the director? Me.
Good job.
Who wrote it? Who wrote it?
We did.
And even more critical to the defense is what Danielle says when the whole thing is over.
I survived, and I'm freezing, and my arms hurt.
A line that some defense lawyers say sounds more like an actress being helped from a difficult scene than a woman who is almost killed. All sides agree that right after this, Danielle was driven back to the house on Oklahoma Street, where there was a party. And remember, it wasn't until her doctor noticed scratches on her wrist and reported the case to police that she told her story.